What's up, everybody? Welcome to Involuntary Yoga. We have an exciting guest I'm pumped about. I've been friends with him a long time. But before that, I'm Chris Camozzi. This is my co-host, CEO of Fit Soda, Chris Miller.
Hi.
And today we're joined by my buddy and UFC fighter, Ian Heinisch. Ian, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Chris. It's kind of funny to see, you always gave me a hard time about doing yoga, and you'd be like, we'd be doing jujitsu, and you'd be like, involuntary yoga, bro. So now I'm on your podcast, you guys' podcast that is Involuntary Yoga.
That's a backstory you didn't tell us.
I kind of forgot about it, but involuntary yoga, like I'm going to fold your clothes while you're still in them.
No, I get that. It's a pun, right?
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, I like talking shit while we're doing jiu-jitsu and rolling, wrestling. I'd always be in his ear a little bit. We'd be
Did you guys train a lot together, like spar together?
Oh, a ton, yeah.
Who would you say is better at jits?
He's got...
You got the mad wrestling, like you're the wrestler.
It's totally different styles. Like, he's definitely, like, jiu-jitsu, the actual, like, martial art, he's much better. I mean, he's got his... What, you black belt now?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Got my black belt.
Just a shade under a decade.
Yeah. Right. But it's weird. You're gonna see this like explosiveness. So like wrestlers, and Ian's got like a big wrestling background. Wrestlers are so hard to catch, even if you like. I was probably a brown belt when you started training.
Yeah.
And still, even like his first few weeks of training, like it was hard to catch him because you just like explode out. Wrestlers don't put their necks out a ton. If you know what I mean by that.
Yep.
I don't know if you do, but just wrestlers are used to being real compact. Like they don't put their limbs out to where you can get them, and they're always trying to get up. They don't want to be on the ground. And if you're just kind of like sitting there trying to play jiu-jitsu and the wrestlers just stand up. I would like, no, that's against the rules. Get back on the fucking ground and fight me like a man.
Yeah, I mean, I would say though, when my first memory of Chris, like I showed up at Factory X fresh out of prison. I walk in this gym, Mark sits me down, we do this whole spiel, and then it was a Friday, and like we warmed up, and he's like, all right, you got 2 cage rounds. He was my first cage round. And like
Full sparring. Like
full sparring. And I get in there, man, and I'm like...
First day at the gym.
First day.
Wow.
And I just throw like a 1-2 full-on double leg, like picked him up, took him down, and he triangled me. And I fought it for a while, but I tapped.
Yeah.
And then I had Brian Rogers next round, and I took him down, got him full mount, and I forget what he did. He really hurt my shoulder. I think he got a Kimura from me in mount, which I should like never. He doesn't have the leverage, but he popped his hips, and the cage stopped me, and he almost broke my arm, and I was out for a couple of days after that.
Mondays, huh?
Yeah, just to clarify that, or not clarify, but some context. B-Raj was a Bellator 185er, right?
Yeah.
Explosive as shit, college football linebacker, but had been fighting a long time. He actually has, I think he still has the most flying knee knockouts in the world.
Nice.
Any promotion. Just very explosive.
That's
so like,
cool on your resume. So Excel spreadsheet, word perfect. Also excel in flying knee knockouts.
Fluent in Adobe.
Yeah. Every time you saw a Bellator when I first joined the gym, it was like he was on the highlight reel. Like he had like sick knockouts.
So that was day one, just two.
Day one.
Wow.
And B-Raj was always walking around like 240, 230, cutting to 185. Big, like I said, explosive too. Like if he grabbed your arm, he didn't always have the best control. He was going to try to rip it off. So
Juggernaut and shit.
Yeah. I forgot about that. That is a rough first day.
That is a really rough
Hey, welcome
first
to
day.
the gym, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's just kind of how it was, man. Like I see a lot of gyms now, they spar twice a week, and that's for me too much. Like especially if you're sparring hard. We would spar light on Monday, a little bit on Tuesday morning, but on Friday, bro, when your name was on that list, like everyone's just hyping it up. Everyone's talking smack throughout the whole week. And then we get in the cage and we would fight hard. Probably not the smartest way to train always, but...
Bro, him and I talk about that all the time, that I feel like in MMA, the science of sort of recovery and like most of you guys have built skill sets at this stage. I know veterans don't as much. We talked about this with Anthony in Vegas when we went to Couture's gym.
Yeah.
I just think the science hasn't totally caught up yet in terms of like, maybe you don't need to spar that hard all the fucking time. Like, I just took a note, by the way. Gastelum had to pull out of this weekend's fight because he broke his teeth out. He got kneed in the face.
So he says that, but if you look at the picture, it looks like his staph.
Did you hear that?
It looks like a staph infection is freaking like he's got like holes in his face. And as a guy who's gotten staph a lot, that looks like staph.
Yeah, it definitely.
One of
does.
his teeth was gone though, right?
Yeah, but it really does look like he has a big staph infection right here.
That's
I think
disgusting.
Connor even jumped on Twitter and was like, "You dirty mongrel!" Like you fucking. He's like, "Look at that staph all over your face. That's what happened." And he's like, "Why don't you start showering or something like that?"
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So getting into this, man. So Ian, for our viewers that don't know who you are, you have an amazing story. It's pretty inspirational. So I wanted to see if you can just kind of like break it down for us.
Yeah.
About that pass. Everybody loves it because of what you turned it into.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and it's cool, man. I've just, you know, I'm looking at these new books and movies. Like I definitely want to, I got approached by ESPN to do a 30 for 30 and stuff like that. But unfortunately, because of my inactivity, I wasn't marketable at that time, says, you know who. But, you know, it started as a young kid. I grew up here in Parker, Colorado. Was born in Denver, grew up there, just a good wrestler, just crazy energy. Like I just had to focus it on something. And my dad put me in wrestling around age 11. And around age 12, 13, I just started getting in trouble constantly, just kicked out of class. Like I even had like a special pass. I could raise my hand and they let me lap the school a few times.
Hold on, stop, pause. Pause.
Hey, that should be more common. You got ADD.
No, you're right. I 1,000% agree. So wait, they realized you're a bit hyper.
Yeah.
You had a special pass that if you raised your hand, you could go do a couple laps.
She would just give me the nod and I would do a couple laps.
Did you
around
really do the
school.
laps?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Dude, I had energy, man. Like I just like was on fire. Like I couldn't focus, such bad ADD. I mean, whatever you want to call it. I was an energized kid. I needed an outlet, a sport, and wrestling was great. But I started to continue to get in trouble. My parents took me to the doctor. They said, "Hey, something's wrong. Is something wrong with our kid?" You know how it was old school. Like it's kind of a dumb thing to do these days. And my parents had the best intentions, so I'm not trying to rag on them. But the doctor said, "Oh yeah, he's got ADD, ADHD, impulsive disorder. He needs Adderall." And they tried a few other holistic stuff, but then once the Adderall hit the stomach, man, being from a long line of addiction, my father, my uncle, my cousins, in and out of rehab, still fighting addiction. Right when that Adderall hit, man, that's amphetamine straight to the dome. You know, I was like, whoa. And I kept going into the doctor. I said, like, yeah, it works like half the day and then it doesn't work. So I maxed out the dose.
Like 100 megs a day.
I had like 40 milligrams of Adderall XR at age 14. And then, you know, I'm starting to drink at that age. I'm starting to smoke weed. And
part of that, don't you think, is the Adderall? Like, I think Adderall is one of the worst drugs on the planet. Like, people who take it responsibly, like, there's people in this office who take it responsibly and they can do it and it's good for them, I think.
Yeah.
I have a similar correlation to my story. Like, when my Adderall use was bad, I'd be like 100 megs a day. Then you have to have 14 beers just to calm down.
Oh, yeah.
And then the decision making is gone. You're like out.
Yeah, I mean the amount you drink when you're on Adderall too,
Bananas.
like it's like triple the amount you could normally drink. So, you know, I'm a young kid. I'm experimenting with stuff, and I like really liked an outlet of wrestling, which I was very successful at. I mean, the first year I wrestled, I lost every single tournament. I didn't place in a single tournament. I told my dad, I said, next year I'm going to win them all. He put me in 4 summer camps that year. I had no summer. I went from like camp to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Colorado Springs, and then boom, I came back, one state as a young kid, whatever, juniors, whatever they call it, and started partying. So it was like this balance. So by the age of 16, 17, I fell asleep behind the wheel driving home. I think I drank like 2 bottles of Southern Comfort, doing coke.
Yeesh.
I used to have this little trick where I would lean to the left, close one eye if I was seeing double, and just try to look down the line. Well, apparently I dozed off, turned the wheel, drove off the road over a curb in my Mustang, missed a tree and a sign by inches. And, you know, that was one of many times that God kind of spared my life there. I woke up and the wheels were spinning because my foot was still on the gas.
Oh, shit.
I woke up, I ran home. Coaches rolled up to my house the next morning. We had this big tournament. And my parents couldn't wake me up. Coaches came in. I guess my parents were like shaking me and stuff. And then my coach Ottman from Ponderosa came in. He's like, Ian. And apparently I just jumped up.
He's got that voice, you know, that you're used to being yelled at by.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got in the car and everyone wanted, I mean, dude, I had mud all over me and stuff. I rolled up in there, somehow made weight, probably the cocaine. And
hadn't eaten in 2 days.
Yeah.
You're on the white girl diet for the week.
I mean, it was just a day, but it was hard. And
Coachella diet.
I made weight and I almost lost to the first guy, just so drunk, and he had to smell the booze on me.
Yeah.
And everyone wanted me to lose, but then I started sobering up. I pinned my way, and I won first. So it was kind of like my dad was so mad that I won that tournament because it was just like I can party and I can still beat these guys.
Yeah, it's like that teaching moment, right? Your dad probably wanted you to lose and be like, "See, you messed up, and like these are the consequences." But then, yeah, some athletes like that are so good. Even like John Jones when he was like telling Cormier, like, "I beat you when I was on coke." Like you don't really learn as much because you're like, I get away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some athletes, like I see like a guy like me and John, like it kind of shuts the brain off. And when you're just like free in the brain and not overthinking stuff, because I'm kind of an overthinker when I'm sober, I have to like control that. And like obviously prayer, meditation and like yoga and stuff kind of shuts that brain off a little bit, but it almost actually would help. And I see why John Jones would party hard before his fights, just because it would shut his brain off. He'd be like, all right, here we are.
Yeah.
I feel kind of crappy, but I'm gonna whoop his ass. You know?
Yeah.
But anyways, so my parents knew I was about to get in really big trouble or kill myself. And so finally...
Were you feeling depressed and stuff at the time? Were you like...
Bro, I had this attitude. I was just like, they should just give me these trophies. Why do I need to show up if a cop tries to pull me over? Because my Mustang kind of got known, and I was getting harassed by the police. And I would come home drunk, and I'd be like, these cops pull me over, I'll fight them to the death. I'll kill them. I'll bring a knife. Like, and my parents were like, yo, this kid needs help.
You mean kill yourself from like wild stuff, right? Yeah. That's why you said depressed.
Oh, like
right?
a car wreck. Yeah.
Yeah, just getting crazy.
No, like I was more like if the police, like I was trying to put NOS in my Mustang, and like I was just like, yeah, it was like,
I know you sound pretty cool.
So yeah, one day my mom called me. I was out at a party. She's like, "Are you coming home tonight?" I was like, "I don't know why." And it was kind of weird. She's like, "Well, are you gonna come home?" And I was like, "Yeah, sometime." So I came home at like 3 a.m., like coked out, drunk. And at like 6 a.m., bro, I'm like getting walked out by these two football player looking dudes. And like, I'm just like so hungover and confused. And all of a sudden I wake up and I like see my parents and they're just like in tears. And I was just like, you guys, which was a really bad scene. Like they were just trying to help get thrown in this van. And I'm sitting in the back and I was finally like sobering up. I'm like, what are we, like, where are we going? And they're like, Utah. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you're going to rehab in Utah. And I was like...
So you're under 18 at this point. So they could force
17.
you...
Yeah. So I had a broken hand from punching the wall. So I had a cast on. And I was like, no, I'm not going to Utah. I jumped in the front seat, E470, grabbed the wheel, turned it, almost made him crash. They had to stop on the side of the road. The two back doors were child-proof, so I couldn't open that. I jumped over the passenger guy, grabbed the door, opened it up, and this big, strong hand came around my neck and was just like... And
man,
these dudes hogtied me and threw me in the back. So I was tied up like this for about 7-8 hours.
And hung over still.
Oh yeah. Well, I made him give me the Adderall. I was like, hey, I need my Adderall. And I just stayed up and studied my way. I was like, okay. I was like exit on 235 on E470. Like I had this plan, bro, that someone was going to come save me.
Adderall move. Yeah. I was hogtied, took my Adderall and started studying my escape.
Crumbs behind.
That's fucking amazing.
I don't think I knew this part.
Yeah. So I get to this rehab and they're like, all right, take your shoes off. And they put you in a circle of rocks. And it's actually a really good program. I actually went back to that program and spoke to the kids like a year ago when I was driving through.
That's good.
And so they put you in a circle of rocks. You got to sleep on a wood plank. You have to cook just rice and like lentils for your like meals. And you have to write an autobiography of your full life with like 18 pages. And
why was it rice and lentils? Is that like a detox type thing, or is that just like they wanted you to have like the bare minimum?
It's just hard to fuck that up.
Yeah, because you had to cook it on the fire. So like, and they told us too. He's like, go ahead and try to run. You see how many cactuses and snakes? He's like, we'll rope you. And like, it's like all cowboys, like they were gonna come on horseback and rope you up. So there's no way to escape.
What was it called? Shout this place out. That's kind of cool.
Turnabout Ranch. Yeah, big shout out to Turnabout Ranch. They're in Escalante, Utah, and they're about 60 to 100 miles away from any other like town. So like, good luck running from there.
The movie's Hold based
Can
off.
you pull that up?
You hear that, Maddie? We're gonna send you to Turnabout Ranch.
Hey, I hit the Peloton today. I'm fine, dude.
Maddie did get a workout in. Had a baby.
That's what's up.
So you get through rehab.
Well, so there was stages in the rehab. After the 3 days in the rocks, then you get a bunk bed. Then after that, you move to the next house, and then you get a horse to take care of. Then you're bucking hay. So I put on like 20 pounds and I'm like a straight up like farm boy. Like 3.5 months later, my parents come and I'm like, I'm ready to go. And they're like, okay.
They kind of earn your way up is what you're saying. Like, you get little prizes as you go.
Yeah, you get more responsibility and just more like, I guess just like things like freedom as well. And it's really good.
Turnabout ranch.
You work on a ranch. So, I mean, it was good life skills. I learned a lot. I came back. I stayed sober for like 2-3 months. I was, my freshman year, I wrestled. I pinned my way through. I beat Matt Neeson at regionals, and then I faced him again, who his brother was Chris Neeson from Air Force Academy. That's where he went to.
I remember both of them from high school, yeah.
And they were just mean dudes. Yeah, there's Turnabout Ranch. Yeah, cool place, man.
We'll put a link in the YouTube if you're struggling with something.
Yeah, that is cool.
Or you know somebody's struggling.
Yeah.
Or if you want to donate your money to a good cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool place. So I get in the state finals, and it's like the Pepsi Center. You know,
is this AAU or high school?
This is high school, freshman year, 5A. And I get in there against Matt Neeson. I'm winning the match, and I shot in on double, and he like rolled me through on like a tilt, and he got me by like 3 points. So I took second, and I was just like, I was so mad, bro. And then I pinned my way through state the next 2 years. I went to Ironman in Walsh Jesuit in Ohio, and I was one of 3 Coloradans that have ever been in the finals of it, and none of us have ever won it. And I was the only sophomore to place, and I took second.
Wow.
In the whole tournament. It was all Blair Witch Academy. It was like the real
wrestling schools.
Real wrestling schools. Like these guys.
How old are you?
So this was
this
was before rehab, so this was 15.
You're asking now or then?
Yeah, or
right now.
Yeah, right now.
34.
Do you know Robert Tucker?
I've heard of that name.
Yeah, he was one of my friends who was a championship wrestler in high school.
So, you know, all these good wrestling accolades. My junior year, I pinned my way through state. I think I didn't lose a single match. You know, I'm winning nationals. Went to Fargo, All-American, Greco. And actually, I should drop this story.
Let's hear it.
They changed this. So I go to Greeley. We do our training camp up there. It's like a week before you go off to Fargo with Team Colorado. I go out to Team Colorado. We're all in our hotel. We wrestled a bunch of matches. I think Greco was over. I placed as an All-American. Freestyle started. I was 2 matches in. I won both of them. It was looking good to place. We're sitting in a hot tub, and this cute chick just rolls up. And we haven't seen any girls in a while. And she rolls up. She jumps in the hot tub with us.
Oh, boy.
Next thing you know, she's sitting on my lap making out with me. Then she jumps to the next guy. And then she's like, room 235 if you boys want more.
Wow.
And so I was like, you know, obviously I was young and just like, so I rolled up in there and, you know, messed around with her. And then like more guys went and the word got out. So then the word got out that there was this hooker preying on us. The police showed up. She kicks the cop square in the nuts, like dropped him.
How old was this woman?
38.
Oh, so she was like, yeah.
Did you guys have to pay her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would classify as a hooker.
Yeah.
No, she was a full-on hooker, and she knew we were there, and she knew that like she was preying on us. Basically, I mean, as a man, I'm not going to be like I was a victim, but kinda, I guess.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the cops come. She fights him like crazy, like psychopath. She gets 9 years in a mental institution. I get kicked off Team Colorado. They send me home with a group of guys. I never got caught. I got snitched on. And they still sent me home. The Mohammed Bobby, the head director of USA Wrestling, tried to find my dad. My dad packed his suitcase in the second-story floor, opened the window, jumped out with his suitcase, and drove to the airport and left me there with these guys.
Wow. Why'd they single you out?
I don't. They
started it, man.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there was a group of like 4 or 5 of us, and we all got kicked out. So then the next year, I went to Florida, and I lived in Florida, but I wrestled for Team Oklahoma, and Team Oklahoma took me in. But then when I wrestled someone against Team Oklahoma, like they like abandoned me, and they actually changed the rules forever that you can't just switch a team, a state team after you get kicked off one. So, anyways. All this crazy stuff was happening. I was just getting in trouble. Finally, my senior year is coming up. It was end of junior year, and I smelled like weed. They took me in. They searched my dad's truck, who I drove to school. There was a big knife in it. It's like a roofing truck, and they hit me with all these things and like, you're expelled. So they expelled me from, and I started using again and stuff like that, and they expelled me from high school. My wrestling coach sat me, I was like, dude, there's nothing I can do.
Why do you think, looking back, now that you've had time to reflect on it, and you're obviously a changed guy, why do you think the using was so prevalent in high school?
It was just like a fun rush. Like it was just.
Did it help calm you down in some sense too? Like the noise?
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of made me just not care. And at that time, I didn't want to care about nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when you're that young, you're not really thinking about the consequences or anything. Like, it's fun. You're like, you get the reputation for being like the crazy, wild person, and then that feeds you more because everybody's like, oh, you're so crazy,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
I didn't really get wild till college.
Yeah.
I didn't even drink really in high school.
I didn't get wild till I worked at Fit Soda.
So you think so? It just slowed you down, and it was fun, and
Well, and it was like I would have a really good time at a party, like drinking or doing drugs with people. And it was like the next morning, it was like, I want to do that again.
yeah,
Like I never could accept that the party was over. Like it was always this monkey on my back.
I'm like that. Yeah, I'm like that a lot.
Yeah. So it's like,
I'll rage for 3 days and just be like, hey, we should keep going.
yeah, I would just go on binders, and then I would have to sober up, get my life together, and then I'd feel good again and go on a binder. It was a vicious cycle that I was in. So anyways, I get expelled from high school on my senior year. I party all year, and then senior nationals comes up, which is like the tournament you've been waiting for. You have to be a state champ to even qualify to go. I'm dating this young rich chick, and she's like, I believe in you, baby. I'll pay for everything. Let's go to Virginia Beach. So we rolled out to Virginia Beach, no training.
So you're allowed to still compete if you're not enrolled in high school?
You just have to be a state champ.
They don't check, like, if you're at a school or...
No.
Oh.
It's senior nationals. You just have to be a state champ.
And you had won state that year.
I was a 2-time state champ and a runner-up. So I was a state champ my sophomore, junior, and obviously I was going to win easily my senior. So I rolled up to this tournament, bro, Virginia Beach, staying at this ghetto hotel. This crazy crackhead knocks on the door, and I like open it all like, what's up, bro? Like my like innocent little 16-year-old girlfriend, and I'm 18, and he's like, oh, I got some Coke if you want to come over next door. And I was like, boom, slam the door in his face, have a few beers, and all of a sudden I hear him. I hear
Coke
him.
sounded pretty good now.
Well, dude,
go.
I literally could hear him. And I was like,
Made you salivate. Yeah.
so I went over there. I did like a gram. I was so mad at myself, bro. Came over, like woke up the next morning so hungover, just like didn't even know if I was going to make weight, made weight. I was just like so mad, had no warm-up partners. I just did like sprints down the hall to try to shake this hangover. And I went in there and I won my first 2 matches, and then I lost to the guy who won it by 1 point. And I wrestled 8 matches to come back and take 4th. And it was like dude, I was so sore and beat up after
One
that
day.
fight.
8 matches one day.
2 days.
And you're hungover, and think about when you're hungover, your heart rate automatically spikes.
Spikes, yeah.
So just wrestling hungover. I've
Plus,
done
Coke
it.
stays in your system for like the next day. It's still
Couple
in there.
days,
Yeah.
And
It does?
And so I took 4th, and I had all these colleges just lined up, bro. Like they were like D1, Boston University, like $50,000 scholarship, because the top 3 guys already signed at D1 colleges, and like they went to 8th place. And if you place in there, it's like a guaranteed scholarship, because I had like 75 people in my bracket.
Yeah.
And so obviously they dug a little deeper, and they were like, yeah, you're not going to D1. You can look at some JUCOs. So I went out, checked out some JUCO colleges, made my way to northern Idaho, and took a couple buddies along with me who kind of wrestled, but were kind of just troublemakers. And first day down there, man, walking down the street drunk, get stopped by a cop, drinking underage. He writes me a ticket. I rip the ticket up, throw it in his face. Then he writes me a ticket for littering, and then I take off running, and he chases me down. I fall, eat it, and then as he's dragging me to his car, I spit on his car. So he wrote me evading arrest, drunk underage, littering, and disorderly conduct. And I still have warrants out there, I think.
We can cut that.
Don't get pulled over in Idaho. Yeah.
Just don't go to Idaho. But so, I mean, it wasn't a good start to college, right?
Yeah.
I went there, partied away my scholarship, all that. Like they gave me like books, money to have an apartment, money in the bank. And I just blew it all, man. It was still, I was chasing an addiction. My parents just got divorced. They lost their house. It was 2008. They sold both their rentals. They put on this $500,000 addition in their house, and then the markets just tanked. My dad decided he was going to walk away. They tried to sell their house. They lost everything. And so it was like, it was a rough time for me. I had petty warrants for my arrest. Like cops kept showing up at the house. I was climbing trees, hiding in trees until they leave. And it was like, man, I got to go somewhere. And this chick hits me up and she's like, hey, you want to go to Columbia or British Columbia, Vancouver?
Yeah.
And be my prom date? And I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I'll fly you out, pick you up in Seattle.
Wait, how'd you know this girl?
I kind of dated her in high school. And so I go out there, man. I'm like, man, this is beautiful.
Vancouver's dope, right?
Oh,
Love Vancouver.
mountains, like a city like New York, the beach, like
They got everything.
It goes from ocean to Whistler. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man. There was like, it was like paradise for me. So I have this like resume that I made up and it had like my state champ wrestler like on there. Like, and I send it into this thing and this guy's like, hey, meet me downtown. And I saw like roll up and
Wait for like a job interview.
job interview.
Yeah.
And so I come in. Have you ever seen Boiling Room?
Boiler room.
Yeah, Boiler
Yeah.
Room.
It's
And
one-
you know when Ben
It's
Affleck
like my
does
Bible.
that speech?
Yeah.
So that was the exact speech we got. Like it was like to the T. This guy was wild, bro.
Do you guys know why that is too? It's because there's so much penny stock, pump and dump.
Yeah.
It's like the capital of it because there's less restrictions on public companies up there.
In Vancouver.
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't actually for stocks. It was doing door-to-door sales, selling fixed-rate contracts for natural gas. So we would lock people in at a premium for 5 years, and we'd be like, well, gas is going to go up. So you're eventually going to save money. This is piece of, like, he had us convinced we were saving the world. We're saving these people money. Gas tanked after that. And so I'm knocking on doors, and it was a really good life skill. I rose up to like top 5 in the whole company.
Nice.
And so I knock on this chick's door. I open the door, and you would get some wild people. And I open the door, it's 4 chicks, and they're like, "Oh, he's cute," and they pull me in. And they're making me like, we drink like 4 Bloody Marys, and we're just like getting wild. I sign them all up though, and they're like
He still got the sale.
He still got a
the
close.
sale.
they all canceled though. They had 10 days to cancel. They all canceled.
Yeah.
And so there was this chick crying in the corner. She's like, she's sad. She just broke up with her boyfriend. You should go talk to her. Next thing you know, I'm dancing with this chick. I'm kissing her. And then at the end of it, I'm like, all right, I got to go. Like I have a sales meeting. And they're like, no, she's drunk. You have to drive her home. And they like throw me her keys. And I was like, so I like go to my boss and I'm like, here's my contract. She's like, what? And I'm like, I got to go. And I start jogging. And I'll never forget. She's like, yeah, like screaming at me. So I jump in this chick's car, I drive her back to her house. She sells wine for a living. So we're busting open a nice bottle of wine. We're sitting there drinking. And all of a sudden I hear dun, 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 like the cops. She lived in a duplex. So her upstairs was a sliding glass door. So her front door is a sliding glass door. So she gets out and she opens the curtain and it's her ex-husband. And he's like flipping out, like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to hit you, like crazy talk. Then he sees me. And he goes on like,
That doesn't help.
like level 10, and he's freaking out. And he's like, so I walk up to the door and I'm like, you don't talk to her like that. And he's like, come out here. And I was like, you want me to come out there? And he's like, yeah. And his face is all like by the door. So I just unlock it. I slide it open and I go, boom. And I just catch him right in the nose, just enough for my fist to fit through. So he kind of like grabs his face. I double leg him, take him down full mount, and I'm like slapping him because I don't want his 2 kids are inside sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
And so I'm like not trying to hurt this dude, but then bro, he grabs me in the balls and twists.
Oh God.
And I was like,
It's against the code, man.
bro, I felt me just boil, and I just lift him up and I held him over this 1-story balcony. He was like, oh. And the girl, I hear her, she goes, no. So I like step in, I hip toss him. He hits this table, like rolls. I grab him here and here and I walk him to the flight of stairs and I throw him head first down the flight of stairs and he rolls down and he's just like all like damaged and goes to his car. So I move in with this chick 10 days later.
Wait, at what point did you think that was a solid idea?
Bro, I was lost there.
I was
not expecting that ending. 10 days later, I move in with this chick.
It's my house now.
She's 38 years old and I'm 19.
Man,
And
Single moms,
you
dude.
got preyed on a lot.
I did, man. And dude, it was crazy because she was like wakes up and she's like, I gotta take my kids to school, and she just leaves me in the house. I'm like, this chick's crazy. These Canadians, bro. And anyways, I was living with that chick who flew me out, and it was like not working out, obviously.
You got 2 houses.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm
fucking setting up franchises.
and I was like looking for a place to live, and she's like, well, why don't you just stay in my extra room, and we'll just tell the kids that I'm renting it out to you. So, I I played the dad life for a little bit. And, 6 months go by. Everything's good. I bought myself a car. I was making $2,000 to $4,000 a week, door-to-door sales, which is cash. And I was 19, so I was like on top of the world. She was like teaching me all the clothes to buy and like just upping my game. And then one day we're just sleeping in bed, and about 6 a.m., boom, boom, boom on that door again, like sound like the police. And I was like, man, this dude's back, round 2. And so I roll up, throw the curtains open in my underwear, and it's immigration police. And I was like, oh, and this dude's been just digging dirt on me. And in between that time, I wanted to go home and visit family and just kind of like show them I'm doing good. So I flew home, and then I tried to fly back, and they stopped me at the border because I had DUIs and open warrants. So they made me stay at the border.
Yeah, how did you even get into Canada? Because so I got in a fight in college once, beat this kid up, got busted for it in college. And 15 years later, I go to Vancouver, and they're like, I got stopped. The guy with the machine gun pulls me into a separate room. Like the Canadian border is notorious for.
It's hard.
Yeah, like even if you have a DUI, they may not let you in.
I get stopped every time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the first time I was just driving with her, and she's like, he's going to be here for a week. So sometimes they'll just go like this, and then sometimes they'll scan it. So the second time I flew back to Seattle, and I tried taking a Greyhound to Vancouver, and they checked those guys hard.
Right.
So they checked it out. They're like, you can't come. So I posted up in a hotel. I was like, man, I got to get across. I got my job, my girl. And so I tried to walk across, and they threw me like in this holding cell.
Wait, at
the border.
So they could see you. You weren't like, I'll hike into the woods and try to cross.
I went like where no one was in like a field, and I tried walking,
and they still caught you.
Oh yeah, and luckily, bro, I surrendered right away because there was like these Mexicans there that had been bitten by dogs and stuff. Like they'll let the dogs go if you try to run, and they were like, if you try to come back again, it's a mandatory 100 days in jail.
Wow.
So I called the chick's mom that flew me across in the beginning, and she picked me up and drove me across, and I made it.
Wow.
So when I got stopped by immigration, they found out I tried to sneak across the border. So she shows up. I had to sit in prison for Thursday or in a little jail cell. It was Thursday. Friday was a holiday. So I had to stay there all the way till Monday. And bro, I'm coming off drugs and drinking. I'm freaking out. So I'm like, take me to because by age 17, I forgot to add, I got prescribed Xanax because I was so I was so like geeked out from the Adderall.
I'm still taking Adderall.
Yeah. So I'm taking, and I showed these Canadians what I was taking. Like I went to the doctor. They're like, dude, these Americans are killing you. Like, what are you doing? Like,
up or downer.
Yeah. They're like, are you kidding me? They're like, you're under 20. Like, and so anyway, so I'm like, I freak out, bro. I'm like, and it was when Brock Lesnar was fighting Cain Velasquez. I'll never forget that weekend.
I was on that card.
Were you?
Yeah.
Dang,
was it
bro.
the one at MGM?
Huh? No,
MGM?
it was at Anaheim Honda Center.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll
Crazy.
never,
And you were in Vancouver.
and I was in jail cell in Vancouver. So I forced them to take me to the hospital. They gave me my prescription of Xanax. This chick shows up to the courthouse. There's no bail bondsman. She puts $5,000 cash down. She offered $10,000. And,
mom?
Yeah, to bail me out.
Sounds like
Single
the
moms are the
mom wanted
best.
to prey on you too.
No, not the mom. It was the
girl you were seeing.
The cougar.
Oh, okay.
Erica. We're cool now too.
Dope, that's dope.
She's all cool with it. So, so she bails me out, and I'm driving. I'm just upset, like, dude, I'm gonna lose my job for sure. They're gonna deport me. Like I had everything going at that time. Like I just felt like I was like done. And so I'm just taking Xanax. I was like, take me to the bar, tequila shots, and then I go to the house, and I'm looking for my ecstasy that I left there. And she heard that I was sleeping with the chick that I first went out there when I was living with her.
Yeah.
So she was trying to make me mad. This is her story
Were you?
to admit maybe once. But dude, I was all over the place, man.
Yeah.
Xanax is like not good.
I don't know how you walked around and drank and took Xanax. Like if I have half a Xanax, I'm put you out.
I do coke to keep me up. So you're basically like
Speedballing.
you're in the passenger seat driving around.
The drugs
just a
said,
correction.
Ian, we'll take it from here.
Yeah.
You relax.
You relax. Just sit back and enjoy the show. Like it's bad, bro. Because like, and I don't know why I liked it. Because then the next morning you don't remember what you did.
Yeah.
and it's really scary. Like I've woke up and looked out. My car is all parked weird.
Yeah.
Like, I drove. Like
Yeah.
it's really
those in
like
college.
it's really a bad. Like I can't like rappers that sing about it. Like it's so dumb.
So stupid.
And then if you don't have anxiety before you take it, you start taking it and quit. You're gonna have anxiety.
Yeah.
like serious anxiety.
Those come downs from those.
You'll have a panic attack.
Well, because all of them are psychoactive too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
affecting parts of your brain that Adderall psychoactive, so Xanax. Yeah, coming off of them is rough.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe it like triggers what they're trying to prevent, like way more. But that's a whole nother
Adderall's
story.
another one. If you've really been taking Adderall for a long time, the part of coming off of it is so scary because
You're so tired and
you're so tired for a week or even two, and you're not functional anymore, and
You don't feel normal. It's just
you get itchy and scratchy and weird. And your body feels disgusting, and
dude, drugs are bad.
it's burly.
So I get bailed out. I'm at this chick's house, and she's like, "Well, I took those ecstasy pills with my ex while you were locked up, and we had sex all weekend." And I was like, "What?" And I held her against the wall, and she's like, "Yeah, I did." And I punched a hole in the wall next to her head, Soprano style, and I just like trashed her house. Didn't touch her or nothing. And she woke up the next morning. Her kids were afraid just because I was yelling. So she jumps on me full mount and is just teeing off on me. And I was so like blacked out. I was just like, whatever's happening needs to stop. And so like I wake up like on her, like holding her down. And she's like, "Stop, I'm gonna call the cops." And so I run in her wine cellar, grab like a $2,000 bottle of wine and just book it towards the beach. And the cops roll up, cut me off. I rolled over, broke the bottle on the car, and apparently I went at them. And like, thank God I was in America because they would have shot me dead.
Yeah.
And bro, they
Because you were like blacked out at this point.
I was still blacked out, and bro, they whooped my ass. Like, I mean, they threw me in the back of the paddy wagon and stomped me for like a good like 10 minutes. Like, "Oh, you Americans."
I've been there.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, dude. So I showed up to court, and then they take me to jail and they sit me down and question me. And why don't you pull up Ian Heinisch, Vancouver's son, fugitive cage fighter, locked up?
Stop. There's a video of it?
Not a video, but an article. This is like the Denver Post.
But you weren't even training at the time, right?
No. So I made up this crazy story, bro. I trained a little bit, but nothing like serious.
It's Hein. Heinisch.
See, luckily now you got to do some digging.
Vancouver's
son, and then put fugitive cage fighter. You got to dig a little bit now. I'll put fugitive cage fighter. Thank God you got to dig. I used to go on like dates and stuff, and then chicks would Google my name, and they'd be like, "What is this?" And then there it is.
2000 and what's the date on that?
Eight.
Yeah, click on that one, Ghost.
I'm just trying to see.
And dude, they put a wrestling picture from when I'm like 15. I'm like, all right. So they literally quoted from what I said. Like, I mean, if you want to read it, but
Black swollen eye.
I don't see myself as a violent person. He said at the hearing, "I am just belligerent when I drink hard alcohol." But listen, so after they question me, let me just tell you the pretext before you read this. They question me, and I make up this crazy story that I'm a cage fighter because I didn't want to rat my boss out who was paying me. And I met this chick online, and all like, dude, and I was like, "I don't care. I'll sneak across the border again and get that guy who ratted me out." And we're in court, and the lawyer is sitting next to me. He's like, "Don't say anything." And I go,
You've done
and I
enough.
stand up and kick my chair out. "Your Honor, I would like to speak."
Oh, God.
And he's just like, "Oh my gosh!" And I was like, "I don't see myself as a violent person, but just when I drink and do Xanax." And she was like, "Mr. Heinisch, shut up, sit down. You are a threat to Canadian society. I do not grant you bail. You will be deported and held in custody until you are kicked out of this country to never return."
Wow.
And like, so like you see,
Are you allowed to go back to Canada now?
I hope so. I'm going to try. Yeah, we're okay. There we go. I don't know. I mean, if you get a sec read, it's pretty wild. Chicks used to read that when I would go on dates with them, and I would try to explain myself, and they would ghost me. And then finally, I was like,
I could see that though.
they would ghost me, right? But I'd be like, "No, it didn't really happen like this." And then finally, I just started, when chicks would read that, I would say, "Yeah, I'm a bad man and you shouldn't date me." And they'd be like, "So what are you doing tonight?" I'm like, what is wrong with
Hey,
these
shout
girls?
out to those girls for doing their research. And maybe, I know that you're a good dude now, but if you ever read something like that, I would definitely say, like, if you were my daughter or something, I'd be like, "There's no chance you're meeting this guy. I don't care what he says."
Is it a yellow flag or a red flag?
Oh, that's a definite red flag. That's a black flag.
It's a black flag.
Yeah.
You know?
Authorities allege mother of 2 boys, 6 and 12.
Yeah.
And dude, I'll wait till Chris gets back. But
I mean, you can keep going. He'll jump in.
okay, so I'll never forget this part. So after they said that, like, "You're a threat to Canadian society, you're going to be detained," this chick, Erica, is in the stands, And I'm never forget, I'm getting walked out, escorted out by the police to go in jail and I was held for like 7 or 8 months. And it was pretty rough jail. Like I thought Canadian prison wasn't going to be bad, but it was.
Yeah, I thought it had like linen sheets and everything's nice and
Maple syrup.
It was pretty bad. And she goes, Ian, I am so sorry. In her little Canadian accent, bro. Like that was, but we're cool now.
That's good. You've made like amends on some of these things and probably a lot of them.
Bro, after I got saved, I went like, I called, and Joni's cool with it. My wife now, I hit up all these girls and like met with them and was like, I'm so sorry. Like I was like, and like, it felt good. And it's just like I had a list. I was like, I got to just go like apologize. And some of them wouldn't meet up with me, but
yeah.
You know.
No, I mean, that's good. And like, shout out to Joni, your wife, who I obviously know really well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great that she wasn't trying to like stifle that because that's part of the healing process and getting over it. And it's not like you were trying to like get back with them. It's just making amends so that you can move on with your life. So that's awesome of her too. Cause I would say there's probably not a ton of partners out there that would be like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, definitely. And no, she's the one for me for sure. So it was a wild time in my life. I get locked up there. I'll never forget. I get locked up there. I go in there. I use a toaster. They're still giving me my Xanax, so I'm all like blurry. and I use this toaster, use this microwave, go to my bed. I'm sleeping days away because I'm all doped up on Xanax. These dudes roll up in there, bro, and I wake up and I get a slap, like wham. And so I like jump up, adrenaline spikes, and I look down and there's 3 other dudes and they all got knives. And they're like, you want to use our toaster? You want to use our phones? They're like, you don't get none of those privileges. And like, I was like, what, bro? And then next thing you know, they're like, hey, this other Canadian dude was like talking shit on you. So, and this dude probably wasn't even, bro. He had glasses on and stuff. So I roll up in this dude's cell and slap him so hard, bro, and like choke him and shake him. And I come out of there, slam the door. He screams. And all the dudes that hit me, the guards are like, who did this? Who did this? And they're like, we have no idea. And ever since then, they gave me respect.
There you go. I mean, at least
I had to get my bones.
Yeah. We're still talking about Canada here.
So
let's.
where's the Spain thing come in?
Yeah. So I get back. So during this time, I meet these Guatemalans, and rest in peace to one of them. He got murdered. Obviously, probably still in the drug game. But they were obviously up to some stuff. I got the one guy selling fixed rate contracts door to door, and he's like, bro, I can get ecstasy for like $1 a pill or like 50 cents. And it was like really good. So we shipped it to this one guy in Denver and it went through, and we were like, oh wow, this is cool. And
grab it.
And so after the whole thing went down, I get back to Denver, 2008, complete recession. My parents split up. You know, I came from like upper to middle class. I had money growing up, and now I'm at like zero, bro. I have no education. I had nothing going on. So I give these Guatemalans a call. I'm like, hey, you want to send these?
We're in Vancouver.
We're in Vancouver. And I'm like, hey, man, you want to send these ecstasy pills down here? So then they start sending shipments, thousands of pills a week. I start hitting the rave scene with all my boys, giving them 100 pills each. I would walk up to the people and I'd be like, hey, you want pills? And if they would be like, yeah. And I would like, they weren't sketch. I'd point at my boy. I'd be like, go to the guy in the red shirt. Because sometimes they'd be like, police. And they'd grab me and they'd search me out of nothing. So we were just coming back with raves, just dumping piles of cash on the table. And after a while, we were sending so many Western Unions. Funny story too, now that I'm the crypto king, the Guatemalan guy, he's like, bro, because I would bring these chicks, random chicks, like, here's $50, send this Western Union, like 2,500. And I'm like hitting all these different Western Unions, and they start to freeze the money. And it was a pain in the ass to get it back. Like, they would finally give it back, but it was like, and my boy's like, hey, bro, get Bitcoin. And it was like 17 cents. He's like, it's kind of like a stock. It goes up and down, but you can buy it and then send it to us.
Wow, you're kind of a pioneer.
And I was like,
isn't that one of the hardest parts of the drug game is the money portion of it is like moving the actual money around.
Yeah. What do you do with it?
So it was too hard. I was like, nah, bro, I don't want this Bitcoin. I don't know what this is.
17 cents.
17 cents. Imagine if I just bought like $100 worth and forgot about it.
Millions.
I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have to work. But anyway, so this guy's like, all right, we'll solve the problem. He sends a dude down with 100,000 pills because I needed more ecstasy too. And he's like, you just give him the cash. He'll stay downtown Denver, and we'll just do it this way. So he starts giving me 10,000 pills a week because now I got guys working for me, and I'm like rolling in the dough and partying like crazy, just chasing an addiction too, honestly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a great drug dealer. Like, I didn't follow the don't get high on your own supply. Like,
half of them
The
for
12
you.
crack commandments.
no, I did not follow. It wasn't a good business for me, especially with like how addicted I was. So this chick started hanging out with us. I was hooking up with her. My buddy was kind of like, I guess, hooking up with her. She was being kind of weird though. And then she was like, hey, my buddy wants a couple thousand pills. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And like, we never told her, but she wasn't dumb. We're meeting people. We have cash drugs. And eventually this chick was finally like, hey, he'll pay you this amount. It was like $6,000 for a boat. We used to call it 1,000 pills. And I was like, okay, you'll drive. And so I sat right behind her with the pills right at my feet. So if she got pulled over, I'll just slide it right under her seat.
Those are hers.
It's not my car.
It's not my car. It's not mine. I'm just hanging out with this chick. And so we go to this Walmart parking lot. We get in there. This Mexican dude jumps in and he's like, I could just tell. I was like, bro. And he pulled out the wad of cash. I'm like, that is not like $12,000 because I had 2 boats for him. And I was like, go back out, go through the drive-thru. We're going to count this. Cause like, maybe I'm just eyeing it wrong, but I could just tell it didn't look like enough. So she pulls her car out, starts to drive. We get smashed from the front, smashed from the back. Like, this dude jumped out like freaking drug task force, pistols to like, we jumped out and he just shoves the pistol to my temple,
Damn.
like holding it on my head and I'm just looking at this Walmart sign blinking and I'm like, I'm so done. Like, I really messed up now. So we get back to the thing and she's like, we don't want you. We know you're the small fish, this and that. And I was like, yeah, well, there's a real big shipment coming soon, but I have to be on the street so they'll know something's up. And she was like, okay. And so, and then she eventually denied that. And then I posted bail. They gave me a bail and they were like, let me out. And I freaking took my pass. I went to the post office. They issued me a passport somehow. And I freaking hopped on a Greyhound, made this Facebook profile, hopped on a Greyhound, went to Indiana, said goodbye to my family, took a train from Chicago to New York, said goodbye to my family. And I was just like, I told them I was going backpacking Europe. And I hopped on a plane, JFK to Amsterdam with about $2,000 in my pocket because they smashed my grandma's condo that we were living at. She lives in New York. And I'm talking cut the mattress. I mean, everything. They stole like another 30,000 cash. They took another couple thousand pills. The police.
Oh.
And there was one slipper that had a couple thousand in it, and that was my ticket out. And so I jumped on a flight with $2,000 in my pocket.
What are you thinking like on when you're when you're on the plane, you've made it? I know probably part of it's jubilation. You know, hey, I made it out. I'm gonna survive this. Are you also? Is there like tons of guilt and just you're thinking I might never see my family again? Like, what are you thinking on that plane ride?
My parents were kind of like for it. Like, I was like, I was 19 years old looking at 4 to 6 years in prison.
I was just gonna say, how long were you looking at? 4 to 6, even for what you got busted for.
Isn't that bad?
Like
I thought you were gonna say 20.
No, I mean, it's like your first thing. And like, dude, they were trying all these different mind games. And I was like, I was trying to like get out on the streets. Like, and then they were like, nope. And then I was like, I can make this bail money. And then I posted bail. They were trying like every mind game though. And they had like hard watch on me. Like, I had to like talk to this lady every single day on the phone. And I just dropped that phone in water and hopped on that freaking, when that passport came, bro, I was like, this is a sign.
You ditched the phone and just bounced.
So, but was there any part of you as you're like starting to approach Amsterdam where you're like, were you nervous there was going to be cops there? Were you like,
oh yeah, I didn't know if like, I had no idea. I didn't know anyone who fled the country with felony warrants. Cause I mean, by the time I was leaving and I wasn't in contact with my probation or whatever they call it, parole. No, I don't know what it's certain type of thing when you're on bail, but you're like high risk. You have to like be in touch with this person every day, check in with them. And when I stopped being in touch with them, obviously they issued warrants. They came to my mom's house. They came to my dad's condo. My other buddy who didn't flee with me got arrested because he was in the car with me.
That probably takes a few days to go through the system, though.
Yeah.
So if you left like right away,
I didn't leave to like the country till like a couple weeks later.
oh shit.
So I had warrants, active felony warrants. But the thing is, they don't check when you leave. It's only when you come back.
That's true. Yeah, you go through immigration.
yeah.
But I didn't know even in Amsterdam, bro. I was sweating bullets.
I like that you picked Amsterdam.
Yeah,
That sounds like a place to get your life together.
Have you been to Amsterdam?
Oh yeah, a few
Place
times.
is wild.
yeah, dude, that was the wrong choice because first day in Amsterdam, I'm by myself. I'm like, man, I'm touring Europe. You know, I just watched Euro Trip. Like, I'm ready to go.
I just watched Euro Trip.
like I'm
A
ready.
documentary.
like I'm
Euroch isn't like a comedy? Euro trip?
yeah.
It's his documentary.
Oh.
So I'm like, what can I do here that I can't do in America? Well, I get a bottle of absinthe.
Which is bullshit, by the way. I've had absinthe.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything to me.
I don't know. It hit my head a little different.
Did it?
Yeah, like the real stuff. I don't know. Maybe it was just in my mind.
By the way, if you're listening and you've never been to Amsterdam, it is one of the wildest. Like you can go to corner stores there and there's barrels of mushrooms. You can buy ecstasy. We had space cake when I was there.
Yeah.
It's ghetto.
Super ghetto, bro.
So ghetto, bro.
So we had already been to like Rome. This trip I was on when I went to Amsterdam. We had done a lot of Europe. We just came from Switzerland, which is, Switzerland is beautiful. It's immaculate. We take this overnight train to Amsterdam. We got robbed on the way.
Dirty as fuck there.
Yeah, we get to the train station in Amsterdam, like the main one, and it was just filthy. Like homeless people. It was trashy. The city was gross. We got followed from the train station, and I had to turn around and like tell this guy to fuck off. We ran into this dude who had no legs, but it looked like they had just been cut off, and he had never like
you know what's sad?
addressed it at all.
You know what's sad? Those guys from like Romania and stuff, they'll literally find like a homeless guy over there. They'll cut one of his legs off or like make him like crippled, like really noticeably.
To be a better beggar.
To be a better beggar.
Yeah, they do that
they'll-
shit in India.
And they'll cash in on him.
God.
Bro, yeah, and then we didn't know we were staying in the red light district, so like
Why wouldn't you want? I've stayed in the red light district.
no, we just didn't know. We were like, I grew up in Nevada where there's brothels, so we were used to prostitution and all that. But like, red light district's pretty grimy. So like, we get to the hotel, we take a nap, and then we wake up to this pimp like beating the shit out of this woman in the middle of the street. Like Amsterdam was gross. Like, there's parts of it that are pretty nice, but like, it is pretty filthy. I don't know. I don't ever have like a desire to go back there. It's not one of those cities where I was like, I can't wait to come back.
No, dude. So, anyways, I drink this absinthe. I smoke weed in the coffee shop, and then I take this tour with this Russian trick or like a vodka tour. Couldn't even understand her, but she's like, "Yeah, I'll take shots with you after." And then after, because she was cute, and then afterwards, she's like, "I don't drink, but you can have my shots." Apparently, I fell asleep on the street and got taken into jail. So I like wake up, bro, at like 4 a.m. and I'm like in jail, dude. And I met these Canadians over in the coffee shop.
In a Dutch jail.
And I'm like, bro, why am I back in jail? And I was like, I go to the cop, I'm like, I'm so sorry, bro. I'm such a dumb American. Please give me one more chance. Let me out. And he's like, you sober? You good? And I was like, yes, bro, please. He's like, all right, what's the address to your hotel? And the only address I could remember was the address to the club that I was supposed to go to with these Canadians. So I literally told them the address to the club.
And he bought it?
And they took me straight to the club. It was like called Escape or something. And I like opened the door, walked out, walked into the club. I was like, bro, this is a crazy country, man.
If you don't drink Fit Soda, then you. It's got aminos for recovery and electrolytes for hydration. All my friends drink Fit Soda and they're cool as like me. I got a model girlfriend, she drinks Fit Soda. I got a fireman buddy, he drinks Fit Soda. Construction workers, they drink Fit Soda. Every girl you're attracted to drinks Fit Soda. This camera guy right here, he drinks Fit Soda. It doesn't get any better than this. It's time to get your Fit Soda. Make sure you go to fitsoda.com if you want to be cool like me. The best part about Fit Soda? Zero sugar. Sugar sucks too. Sugar. I hate sugar. Man, this, I'm out of here.
Anyways, so I basically ended up homeless there. I ran out of money. Then I had a friend.
Wait, let's back up. Like, you're living on the street, like
I'm
hostels and shit.
Like I'm like in a $12 a night hostel. Like I was only staying in hostels. Like
Yeah.
And in order to get my bus ticket, I like freaking robbed some people, and it was just like it was grimy, bro. Like I was surviving, and I called my buddy in New York, and he had a buddy who was living in Belgium, and he's like, "Go stay with him for a little bit, get on your feet." So I take a bus over to Belgium, broke. And then I'm walking around with my American resume, my good old American resume. I go in this Irish pub, and this dude's like, "Yeah, bro, you're hired. Well, you can work in the kitchen as a kitchen hand." So I'm working in there. A few months go by, things are good, and I'm making some decent money, like living. And he's like, "So where's that work visa?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, they accepted it, but it's just in the mail. I'll make sure I give it to you." So like 2 months later, he's like, "You ever get that work visa, bro?" And he's like, I was like, "Oh, you know how the mail is here." And he's like, "Okay, well, if the immigration comes, you got to hide in this closet." And like right then and there, I was like, I knew what it felt like to be an immigrant in America. And I was like, wow. And so one night I'm closing down the bar. This crazy English guy starts working in the bar, and he came from Tenerife, and he was like just wild. And it's crazy. I met up with this
buddy. What's his name?
Kyle.
Kyle.
Remember he hung out with Dustin in England. This kid, he's on Below Deck. He's like a Below Deck kind of. If you ever watch that,
It's Gina's favorite show.
Really?
Yeah.
So, anyways, this dude's wild, bro. And one night we're closing down the bar and it's a hen party, which is a bachelorette party. They show up to the door and we just end up partying with them, like keep the place open all night, just drinking bottles behind the bar, like not making them pay for drinks. The Irish guy shows up. He's like, "You're fired, blah, blah, blah." He tries to kick us out. He prints out the fugitive cage fighter paper. And he's like, "Bro, you're lucky I don't call a cop." And so we just showed up and we grabbed him, walked into the register. We're like, "Just pay us what you owe us and you'll never see us again." So dude pays us out. And this English guy's like, "Hey man, let's go to England. I can get us a job, mate." And I'm like, "Okay." So we hop on this freaking ferry over to England.
Europe is cool. You can literally bounce countries like you can States here.
Yeah.
That is one of the coolest things.
Yeah, like totally different like cultures and languages. And
Yeah.
it's like driving to freaking
Wyoming.
Pueblo?
Yeah, Pueblo. Yeah. So this dude's idea of us working a job was we got this shell of an apartment, which we painted in the day, which had no hot water, no electricity, no furniture. It was just a shell, and it's winter in England in this small little town. I'm like, "Bro, we cannot live like this." So we went to this place called Sheffield, which is like a college party town, and we got this job at a club doing PR work, which like we're just like,
Promoting.
handing out flyers and shit.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm just thinking, like, as the story keeps going, I'm like, why isn't someone bought the rights to this to make a movie?
well, they've tried to buy the rights, but I just don't want to I've been like my first fight in LFA, I got flown out to California and taken to Avenue of the Stars. CAA sat me down.
CAA tried to
Sign on the dotted line, bro. 100,000, 80, 100,000, and your life rights are over. But I just know they're gonna like glorify the bad side. I want to have some control.
Like Wolf of Wall Street, yeah.
I want it to be like redemption, man, because that's really what I want. Faith to be in there. Like that's what I feel like I've been put through it for. So
I mean, that's the way I'm thinking of it, is because I know what you're about to get to. The end that people get to hear is like the part of you that changed, and
yeah,
that's a great story arc though. Like this, it's such a like Rudy film. It's such a like,
But you know, Hollywood won't always do that. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
like Wolf of Wall Street was like, that movie shouldn't have been made the way it was in terms of glorifying like stock abuse. There's a bunch of people who had a problem with that film. Like you're sort of glorifying the fact this guy was a total piece of shit.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. You want to have some control on it so that it's not an action movie. They'd make it into an action movie is what they would. And it'd just be like a blah. Like,
well, yeah, it could be an action movie, but I just want the redemption part. I want the faith part to be in there. I don't want like I feel like God's put me through this for a reason. Like my troubles have been a testimony, and they would totally leave that out. And I have a movie deal in my email right now, but I don't feel the vibe with these guys.
we know a producer we could pitch this to.
Okay, I'll make it.
I'll tell you after.
Okay.
He's been on here.
We can say his name.
Rob Weiss.
He did Entourage, Ballers.
He's friends
He's
with my
really
brother.
connected. Yeah.
He's been on our podcast.
Okay.
He said he like just gets stories sent to him now and like he reads through them, and I don't know, we can get to that. Like this story gets wilder if you're watching this. Like
It's just getting started.
yeah.
Wow. Let's go. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I talked with that guy. Gosh, he would be so pissed if I butchered his name. He's super famous. He was like Hercules, and he's in a bunch of like faith films. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Rock.
No, was he in Twilight?
I think so. Yeah,
Big guy.
Yeah.
He's always yoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Dark
Yeah.
hair.
And he's a Christian, so like that was. But he's just too busy right now. Like he called me out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, I like your story, but I'm just too busy right now." I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like wow. So we have been navigating the Hollywood, me and my manager, for years. Like we've been flown out there many times, and then ESPN wanted to do it, and they really lit a fire under me because basically the UFC is like, well, he's been injured, so it's just not marketable at the moment. Which whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've overcome prison, I've overcome addiction, and now I'm gonna overcome these injuries. So now I'm fired up.
Yeah, let's go.
And where was that in the story?
So you're handing out flyers for this club.
Yeah, so I'm handing out flyers to this club, and it's cold, it's miserable, it's dark, it's raining all the time. England was just miserable, especially the north. It was cool. I met some good people, but this crazy English guy tried to like rob the safe of the club, and they like flipped out. And I'm like, dude, I don't know this guy. So I ended up living in student housing, and then finally I was just like, I heard about this place called Tenerife, the Canary Islands, and to me it was like paradise. And I flew down there, and it was just beautiful beaches. If you look on it on a map, it's off the coast of Morocco. So it's basically Africa in territory. Spanish owned, English ran.
He showed me before. It looks sick. I would love to go to vacation.
Is it like an English hotspot for vacations?
Yeah, it's like Cancun for England.
Or like Mallorca or like Ibiza or something?
But those are seasonal. This is year round. It holds like a 70 to 85 degrees year round. So
I'm in.
So they go hard, and it's just, I mean, there's a party on. So I walk down the beach. I'm like, dude, this is paradise. Beautiful women. I'm drinking beers down. I drink like a 12-pack. I show up to the clubs, just popping. I was like, hey, you guys looking for more workers? They're like, you're hired tonight. And so I'm just like getting drunk. I'm doing PR work. So they gave me 8 drinks when I worked and 4 drinks when I got off, and €1 per person that I brought in. So 3 months of this, bro, I'm full-blown alcoholic. Like, can't even afford €30 a week to live in a cockroach-infested room with 10 other people, like where I just had a curtain as my wall. And I'm just like, now I'm like sleeping on the beach sometimes, sleeping on park benches, friends' couches when I could, or if I met a chick or something. And I'm at rock bottom, bro. Like that was rock bottom for me, where I was just like, bro, like I couldn't like stop drinking. I was like shaking in the morning, where I had I would stay up till like 5 or 6 every day, because you know how they do it in Europe. They stay up till like 6, 7 in the morning, so I would sleep till like 4 or 5 p.m. and then I'm drinking right away. So it was like
it's just a vicious cycle,
bro. It was bad. And so this American comes to me, and he's from Miami, and his dad's Colombian, and he's like, hey, gringo, like, dude, we don't want to see you living like this. You got potential, bro. Like, come live with us. And so they took me in like family. They still are like family, but after like 3 months, like we hit the gym, got sober, eating good.
You did get sober at that point. I don't know if I knew that.
Well, not completely.
More sober.
More sober. A lot more sober. Like I probably went like a month without, I was just smoking weed and stuff like that. He sits me down and he's like, hey, gringo, you want to go make some real money? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And he's like, yeah, we'll just go to Colombia. He's like, swallow this grape. And it was like those big grapes. And I was like, he like taught me the technique of just like, you just like, you don't like swallow, you just inhale it.
The story started weird. I'm like, what the fuck what are we getting into?
Yeah, if I go into a room with you and you ask me to swallow a grape, we're having problems.
So then it started.
That was your interview, swallow the grape?
Yeah, it was swallow the
Wow,
grape. Yeah.
wow.
And then it started. We took a trip to Colombia. The first trip we went down there, he just sent us to these guys.
Hectic.
We're in freaking the ghettoest part of Cali, Colombia. Oof. And bro, there's like gunshots going on. We're just in like these families' houses. Like it was like wild, bro. And like we went out, I'm like smoking a joint at the park. All of a sudden, like full on military roll up with their AKs pointed at me. I'm like, and they made me take my shoes off and they robbed me.
Meanwhile, if you're just listening to this and not watching it, Ian is a white dude with blonde hair, so you definitely stick out.
Don't blend in Colombia.
I kind of stuck out there, and it was just a wild time, man. And
So backing up, you know what on the way to Colombia why you're going? It's to get coke or drugs to bring back.
Yeah, for sure. So the plan was go down there for 3 weeks, party, and then like the last week sober up and get ready to swallow the drugs. And it was so crazy, bro. It was like Blow was on that night before we swallowed the drugs, and then American Gangster came on, and I was just like, dude, I hate watching the end of these movies, bro. This doesn't look like it's going to end good for us. So it was like we had to start at like 4 a.m. because it takes about an hour. You swallow 10 of them, walk around for a little bit, maybe eat a little.
And describe for people who are lost, like you're swallowing balloon-covered grams of coke.
Yeah, and so he had told me this, like you had to like stretch your stomach kind of, right, to hold that? Wasn't it you said that? To hold that many?
It would literally be like the size of my thumb. They would compress it, and then we would wrap it with 8 layers. This dude was like wrapping it with 3. So it was scary because I wasn't the one wrapping it. Like this was like the scariest time we did it, was the first time.
Because it can break open and you die.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll just convulse. Like, and so the day before we go, bro, it was some weird, they did some like demonic, like ritual stuff. They driving us up the mountain, and I'm like, bro, why are we going in the mountains? Because last time we were in the mountains, we were picking up the coke. And I asked this little kid, I said, hey, where's the guerrilla? And that's like the coke people. And he was like, ahí, like pointed over there. And I had my sombrero, and I was like, yeah, bro, like I'm not trying to be seen out here.
Right.
Because they'll kidnap a guy like me. And that's when we got the kilo. They broke it down. Like this whole house smelled like coke, and they're freaking making it. And then they took us back up to the mountain. I'm like, what are we doing? I keep asking my boy. He's like, don't worry. And we like picked up this other guy, and they like took us to this cold river, dude, and like slapped us with sage and did like this weird prayer stuff over us. And like, And then they took us down, and
that was nice.
Those 2 movies, yeah, totally, bro. I got so sick from that, bro, because it was like freeze. Like you would think Colombia's hot, but this river was so cold. It's like this cold plunge we're probably gonna do. Hopefully,
And you haven't,
not. Maybe
you have or haven't swallowed it yet.
I've never swallowed it yet. So I wake up at like 3 or 4 a.m. because you need time, and I just taking it down, and I get to like obviously you wrap the last layer is plastic, so you get to like. Start feeling like nauseous and sick. So I get like 70 down, which is like 700 grams.
70.
And I'm calling the Colombian guy, my Lorenzo. He's like, bro, I'll give you another freaking $5,000. Just swallow 3 more. Like, and I'm just like, oh. And my boy he was having issues swallowing it, and I was just like, whatever, bro. And then you just take shots of whiskey, and then you forget that you even swallowed it.
What does that feel? You forget, or do you
feel
like
full? Like you just had Thanksgiving dinner.
No.
Wow.
You have to like walk around. You just feel like you swallow a lot of plastic. Like it's not
crazy.
So we go to the airport, we pass through, we made the money, and then after a few trips, we went to Venezuela, we went to Aruba, and then this dude was like, hey man.
Wait, hold on. I have a ton of questions.
Yeah, what's the poop part like?
Well, hold on. Yeah. So backing up. So you get to the airport and you have 73 grams of cocaine in your stomach.
730.
700. Fuck. And are you panicking? Or are you like?
I'm drunk. So I'm trying to act like a college kid, just like, woo, yeah. Like, so I'm actually being loud. I'm getting drunker, kind of getting like sloppy. Like,
it sounds like Chris every time he goes to the airport.
Kind of.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like the first time you do it, you're probably not going to caught. You have a clean passport, and I was trying to dress nice, and I'm with my buddy who's, he is Colombian, but I mean, he kind of looks American, just how he dressed and stuff. So we went through, man, and
and then the flight goes back to the island.
No, it goes to Barcelona, and then you got to switch planes and fly to Tenerife, which is another 4-hour flight. So it's about 24 hours holding it in. The hardest part is not letting it go out.
So explain that. I know it comes out the other end, but like
sometimes one slips out and you just got to cut a layer off and put it back down the hatch.
Shut the fuck up. You're fucking with me.
I never did that, but the other guy did.
So you'll be sitting on a plane and prairie dogging it, and one pops out, and you just reach in, take some of the plastic off, and right back in.
That's what he did once. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, if you think about it, whoever you.
How do I get people at the office to be that committed to this?
Nah, I mean, hey,
$5,000 a week.
I mean, if you think about it, your life is probably on the line, right? Because if the dude the dude back there knows how many you said you're bringing, and you show up short,
yeah, it's gonna be.
Who do you think they're fucking up?
Wow.
The good thing is we never worked for a cartel or nothing.
What happens when when the whole load comes out? So like, do you feel like you have to shit the whole time, and then when you get to where your destination is, you're just perched over a bowl and you just push it out?
It's like an old school slot machine. You pull that lever, you hit the chat, like, and you just know you're about to get paid.
It's like a number one, the Bristol.
He's just hearing money signs.
Does it? Do you have to take something to induce the shit, or does it
not by then?
Eat a pizza, bro. You know
how many hours?
24.
The flight is 24, but you didn't.
It's like 24 hours in total travel time.
Now, when you swallow these, you swallow them, and you're timing it right to like I'm leaving to the fucking airport.
Yeah,
you're not like chilling and then
no, you're trying to get you would honestly you need like 6 hours to get a full kilo in. And
then 24 more.
I know some guys can do it in like 2, but I couldn't. I would have to do like 10 walk around, like let it. And then because your intestines are long, so we would get there and bro, sometimes like the first because it wouldn't all come out at once. And I remember one time I was at the club, like because we were like celebrating, and we're like partying, bro. And I'm like, and I'm all like faded, and I run in the bathroom. I gotta go, and I sit down. I'm like, no, and I book it to the house, jump in a taxi because I still had like freaking, and like it was scary because the first time the one was soft, bro, and it didn't have that much like layers on it. After that, we wrapped it ourselves, and it was definitely a lot more safe. You could keep it in you for longer, but after about over 10 trips, so let's go back. 3rd trip in Colombia, black dude comes up to me. Dame su pasaporte. And I was like, no comprende, sir. I don't speak Spanish when I did, but I was like, I don't speak Spanish. And he's like, and I was like, who are you? And he's like, secret police. And he pulls out this badge, just like a black guy dressed in street clothes. And I was like, oh, and he's like, oh, you like Colombia, huh? 3 times, huh? And I was like, yeah, my girlfriend's here, this and that. He's like, yeah, sit down. And I sit down to this gorgeous girl and this sketchy looking dude. And I look over to the sketchy dude. I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, the x-ray, bro. And I was like, oh my, and like, dude, I was just like, don't look like you're panicking right now. Like, cause I kilo on my stomach. And we always put this shiny paper on. It's like wrapping paper. You know, on the other side of wrapping paper, and it's just shiny.
Yeah.
And we would put that on this paper, and they promised me that this would pass the x-ray. But I was just like, these dudes are just
making shit up.
Yeah.
I know you're a bunch of scientists over there, but
yeah. So, dude, I'm like full panic. They take us to this room in Bogota, Colombia. And I've been recently I started watching these shows where they catch people. I was looking at 8 to 12 years in a Colombian prison.
Yo.
And I had no idea. They were like, yeah, you might get 4 years or something. But I'm like, now that I look back, I was like, oh my gosh.
That's
so
life.
I walk in this freaking, I would have probably died in there.
That's what I mean.
Like,
That's life in a Colombian prison.
You're not going to make it. So I get in this freaking x-ray. It's like a treadmill, but it's like x-ray. And I go through, I walk out, and I'm looking at the dude, and he looks at me. He's like, have a good day, Senor Heinisch.
Wow.
And I print my finger, and I sign, bro. And dude, the adrenaline dump I have after walking out of there compared to like after a fight, bro, I was just like, and like I'm on the
clenching
plane.
your cheeks.
I'm on the plane, and the Colombian dude's like looks back on the plane, and I'm like, yeah, bro. And he's
wow.
So they had to be kind of on to you a little bit. It couldn't have just been like they don't just x-ray you for going. I mean, I've been to Brazil 3 or 4 times, and they're not stopping me for going.
I think it's the short duration. Yeah.
Well, I would stay like 3 weeks, but I went I would stay 3 weeks, go back to Spain for a month or 2, and then come right back. Come back, and I wasn't going back to America.
Yeah,
I think that's what gets red flagged. If you've been to Brazil 3 times in 5 years, it's not a big deal. You're coming back every few months.
I just mean they had to have another instance of like, I don't know anybody that's been x-rayed. I know a lot of business guys that travel a ton internationally. But yeah, like you said, coming
Probably
back to
had
the US
suit and tie on. I'm freaking over here, just
Board shorts and
hammered.
flip flops.
Yeah, dude, straight up.
Or in Hollister.
That was when I got caught too. I remember I was like, I was ready for the beach, and so fast forward to like 10 or 12 trips later, I'm in Aruba. We were supposed
Love
to leave.
Aruba. Is that a big stop for drugs?
Oh yeah,
I love Aruba. That place was dope.
yeah. So we were trying to get the kilo, and it was dry. So we're like extended the trip for another 2 weeks. It was dry. We extended 1 more week. We got the kilo. That was probably like a red flag, I would guess. Like, I don't know how it works, but anyway, so we went to Caracas, Venezuela, which is a freaking scary place to have a kilo in your stomach. Then we flew directly back to Tenerife, and we usually never flew back directly to Tenerife. I get in the line, me and this dude act like we don't know each other. And they see me, they single me, they sit me in the office, and they've done this once before. They question me, why do you keep coming back here? My girlfriend's here, and she was actually there ready to pick me up. And I was like, dude, I'm a rich American. And I think another part that was sketchy, I had no credit cards, no bank cards. I just had a wad of cash.
yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And they're like, well, what happens when that money runs out? I was like, Western Union. And they're like, yeah, well, rich people don't use Western Union, bro. And so they were like, made my girl come in, and everything was good. They let me go, and then they followed us down to the parking garage without us seeing. The Colombian dude was waiting there. Boom, they jumped on us. Drug task force.
Damn.
They said, yeah, you're going to go to the x-ray. I said, well, let's go. Because we started
Invincible.
I got this shit. Yeah.
We started getting cocky after that.
Yeah.
Like, we started taking less time.
So this is in Tenerife? Got it.
Tenerife. So at this airport, because it's so old and outdated, they don't have an x-ray there. So they took us to the actual hospital. And I'm just ripping on these dudes. My girlfriend's crying. I'm like, I'm here for vacation. I spent money in your country, and look what you're doing.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. Like, we're so sorry. So blah, blah, blah. And then boom, they try to do like the real x-ray, with the plaque behind you. And she's like, don't move. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and then she's like, no vale. And then they made me lay on a table, and they took an x-ray where I couldn't move. And the police are looking at it, and they're like, man, it looks good. Like you're probably going to be good. And then they're like, we just have to get it signed off from the head doctor's beautiful Spanish chick, and she puts it up there, and she's like, can see this little mark, and I'm like, no, and she's like, you have drugs in your intestines. What is it? Cocaine, heroin? In Spanish, she's yelling at me, and I'm like, no, it's not. And she's like, it's seguro. She's screaming like, it's for sure. And I'm like, nah, I ate some Chinese food, and they were like,
That's that sesame chicken.
yeah. Anyway, so they locked me up, and I sat with no court case for a year. I had no idea what was going on. I still didn't call the embassy because I didn't want them to know that I was locked up and I was on the run You know, I just didn't want any connection to know.
Yeah, can I rewind? So, didn't they put you in a cell because they weren't like fully positive, and they're like, "We're gonna wait till it comes out"?
Oh gosh, this was the worst part, bro. So
You were lying, and they're like, "We'll see."
no, they knew it was there, and the Colombian guy was with gave him the exact amount because I was gonna pinch it off with like 5 left and like come up in jail. You know, it was like
Come up in jail.
like because I
sell
knew
that in there.
Yeah, dude. Like, but he told me the exact amount. They gave us 0 food. They gave us this terrible diuretic, and we drank it, bro. And I was like pissing green out my ass. Like it was so bad, bro. And I only got like 40 out. And dude, they kept us there for like 4 days. And my girl, my poor innocent Italian girl, is freaking in a jail cell and missed picking her kid up from school. And I'm like, and I'm freaking out. I'm just trying to get it out of me, you know? And I'm so dehydrated, bro, so messed up. I'm like, just give me food. And they're like, no, it might create acid in your stomach and it will break the balls open and you die. And I'm like, and I just want to be like, it has never before, but you obviously don't want to say that. Like, it's my first time. And dude, finally, like, I was like, what is that IV you're giving? And she's like, it's nutrients. And I was like, just give it to me.
Yeah,
like, I was like dying, bro. And I was handcuffed to this bed. And the dude wake me up every 3 hours, like, hey, go try. Cause they couldn't go home until we were done. And anyways, we got through there. I got locked up, man. And, you know, right away I saw they had a wrestling program and like, I was just getting sober, man. And just like things were kind of clicking. In prison, you have a lot of time to reflect on your life and you really think about like, man, what have I been doing? Cause you're alone so long, you know? And they had this wrestling program. It took 3 months to get in the wrestling program. I went straight up to the wrestling coach, showed him my cauliflower ear. He's like, you're in today.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be Trota, who is Trota's Juan Espino, UFC fighter's father.
Oh, damn.
And he was like the best wrestler of ever in there. They called him the White Lion. He would go to Senegal and beat these guys.
Wait, he was locked up, or he was?
His father was for like
Okay.
for like a lot of kilos.
Oh, right. And you're locked up in Tenerife.
I'm locked up in Tenerife, and his dad's locked up. He's now in the UFC, and he's in Florida. But his dad was my wrestling coach. So I got one of the best wrestling coaches of their style there. So he starts training me. I meet this crazy other American. They bring in this team that's professional, gets paid, does it for a living. We beat the team. We make newspaper.
And what's the name of this again? You told us, but tell the...
Yeah, so they have their own style of wrestling called Lucha Canaria. And it's basically, it's best out of 3 takedowns in a sand gladiator pit. And you lock up with a gi on shoulder to shoulder. You grab the gi and you start wrestling. And if a hand touches or a knee, it's a takedown. You lose twice, you're eliminated. Or you get taken down twice, you're eliminated. And it's like whoever, and you fight as teams. So it was cool, man. They had a kickboxing program. They had Moy Moses in there, who was the K1 champ. He freaking rung my bell like crazy. I took him down in like cement. And these dudes are like, dude, you can't do that.
They brought these guys in to help train.
No, they were locked up.
They were locked up, bro. Like these guys are all like,
Tenerife's popular, dude.
dude, it's a big hub.
That's where Darren Till got locked up for.
Yeah, he did, bro.
He got
for
locked up
stealing
there.
a taxi or something.
Yeah, like a year or two ago, I sent it to Ian. I was like, "This
Tenerife
is the same
sounds
spot as you."
lit.
Dude, Tenerife's wild, bro. It's like the English piece was like playground. Like they go wild there.
That's awesome.
So, and then I start going to church, man, and I'm just really like, there was a point in my cell, dude, where I was like, it's just so disgusting. Like it was just drug. Dude, there would be like people, this guy had no hair and he looked like his eyes were sunken. He was dying of HIV. And he would get pissed off and he's like, I'm going to stab someone with a needle.
Yeah, because Ian told me so. Over there, they don't separate the HIV positive. Like here in the U.S., they separate them, and they're not in like the general population due to like spreading. He said over there that was the scariest part, right? Was that they like,
dude, if you pissed off a junkie like that, like I'm sorry to call it, like that's what they were. They'd stab you with a needle and give you HIV.
Jeez.
And there was. Yeah, dude, it was because they were just feeding us pills. They didn't care. Oh, you need Xanax, they, like methadone, medicazione, and all these guys come running out and like doing their methadone, popping these pills. And finally, dude, I was doing it in the beginning, and then I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like, I had like a moment where I just looked at myself in the mirror, and I felt like God was just putting on my heart. Like, he's like, dude, you're gonna be the UFC champ. Like, you're gonna get out of here, and you're gonna change your life. And like, I would tell people this, and they're like. They look at me like I'm crazy, bro. And I would like beat them in sparring, and they'd be like, I'd be like, don't worry, bro, I'll be in the UFC soon. And they're like, yeah, sure.
How old were you right at this moment?
I was locked up from like 20 to 23. So yeah, I was in there and I'm training, and I had this girlfriend that was doing visits. You could have conjugal visits, that same girlfriend.
dope.
Yeah, and you got to wear your own clothes.
You got to wear your
everything,
own
right?
clothes. Like you were like a normal person. Like you get to do stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like even if people were locked up for 2 people at 2 life sentences, you could meet chicks in there. You could start writing them.
Wow.
And then after a while,
I think U.S. prisons should be more like that.
Yeah, bro. Like they're just pushing. Like if you treated a dog like a straight up animal, they'll turn into that. You know, just like a savage. But if you treat him like a dog, like he's
And
gonna
nurture him a little bit,
like
yeah.
nurture him, just like give him actually like privileges that humans need.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I do want to speak out against the pharmaceutical companies. I want to speak out against prisons, because prisons over there, they actually reform you. It's not a revolving door. They want to see you doing well, and they pay you when you get out in the beginning to like help you get back on your feet.
Really?
So they really want to make it. They give you like 500.
Which before we started the show, we were talking about one of the charities that we support here, Sharon and I, and that's one of the biggest things they say in America is obviously once you get out, you're obviously kind of banished from normal society, can't vote, do all these things. One of the biggest problems that this pastor sees is that you can't
get on your feet.
You can't. There's no way to kind of ease back into society. There's no money. There's no opportunity. And so these guys end up doing drugs and robbing and doing the things that they need to do to survive. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's like getting locked up in like Rikers Island was just crime school. Like we're fighting over chairs, and like it's just all like, whose clique are you with? There's no, like, we just sit around looking for like drama or a fight or something. Like everyone's just like fighting over turf, like the dumbest stuff, bro, like prison politics. And it's like, give these guys something to do. They can't do anything. There's no weights. There's no gym. There's no more boxing programs like it used to be. It's literally a revolving door for criminals. The only thing you can do is be a barber, and barbers don't hire felons. So you're basically, you're just making them money at that point. You're just a number to them. And it's really unfortunate, because we have more people locked up in America than some countries have people.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Because, so we can even fast forward this. I'm sure you're tired of talking about it a little bit, but you end up doing your time in Spain. You get out. They send you back to the U.S. You land.
Yeah.
And then U.S. Marshals pick you up because the charge that you originally left from, and you get taken to Rikers.
No, so not the U.S. Marshal. So I signed a paper that I would not come back to. I thought it was just Spain, but it was actually Europe for 5 years. That's why it was so hard to get that England fight.
Yeah.
And they cut a portion of my sentence off, 3/4 of my sentence, or 1/4 or whatever. And so I got transferred to the north of Spain. So this chick stopped seeing me. She came, and it was like blow. She's like, I can't see you anymore, like this and that. And she just left and walked down the stairs and like gave me that one last look. And like, it was like, I was devastated. Nobody was going to bring me contacts. My vision was so bad, bro. Like I couldn't see you from here. And then they just con air me to the north of Spain. Cause I was telling them, I was like, I want to do lucha canaria. Like I was like, this is the sport I want to do. And they were like not having it. They did not want American succeeding at their sport. So they shipped me away. There was a boxing program. I started an MMA program. And I was just training, and finally I got out. I got extradited back to New York. They threw me on actually a commercial flight, and dude, this flight was crazy. I was like 2.5 years locked up. I was like talking to girls, and I was just like, they're like, what's wrong with this guy? And what they did, they gave my passport to the flight attendant, and then once I landed, they gave it back to me. So I get off, I scan my passport, and dude, you should see my passport. I like washed it. It has so many stamps. It's so old. It's just beat up, and they scan it, and they're like, Mr. Heinisch, how long you been out of the country? And I was like, oh, a while. And they're like, what's a while? I'm like, 5 years. And they're like, yeah, come with us. So it obviously got flagged. I sat in this holding cell for like 48 hours. They were trying to figure out what warrants I had. Then they put me in Jamaica Queens jailhouse for 3 days, which was absolutely,
Yikes.
on a weekend, bro.
Yeah.
It was like people throwing up, like crap in their pants. It was just bad, bro. Like, and finally they're like, the lawyer, she's like, you need to go to protect custody. You're going to go to Rikers Island. And I was like, I don't even know what Rikers was. And they're like, you need to go. And I was like, throw me with the wolves, I'll lead the pack. Like I've been locked up 2.5 years. Like what have I not seen? And bro, I'm driving on this long road. I'm like, yo, this is an island. And it's like one cage, like wall, another cage wall. And bro, I'm just getting there, and the guard's walking me. He's like, man, you must be one bad white boy. I'm like, why is that? He's like, we ain't never seen one of you in this area.
You're
and
like,
I was
shit.
like, where am I going? He's like, well, you're a fugitive. You're going to maximum security. And I was like, I was like, you damn right I am.
We drove through the triangle of death, dude.
You gotta have the poker face on.
Yeah. And
Isn't Rikers notoriously gnarly? It's notoriously a really tough place, right?
if you ever watch a documentary called the Khalif Broder documentary by Jay-Z, it's a really, really sad story. And they're trying to shut Rikers down right now because of that story. If you saw that, right?
Where can you see this documentary? Like Netflix?
Yeah.
So it's a Jay-Z produced documentary about a guy who went to Rikers?
Yeah, and was held for like 5 years, like when he was innocent, just because he wouldn't say guilty, and they like beat him, tortured him, held him in isolation. I mean, people die there every week. I saw a Crip come into a opposite gang, bro, and they just stomped him out, and the guards sitting there. The guards come in and are like, what up, what up, what up? Like throwing gang signs too.
They're all from like the neighborhood.
Because when Obama made Section 8 living have to get government jobs, these guys with clean records would be guards, and they would all grow up in the same hood. So they're all boys. And then when a guy would come in, they would just let him get stomped. I saw this dude just bleeding unconscious. And like after like 10 minutes, he was still out. And this dude just like soccer kicked him as he walked by. I was like, bro, I didn't know if he died. He might have died. And dude, it was like the hardest part of my whole like, being locked up. And, you know, eventually. And
you're sort of this newly reformed guy, right? I mean, I mean, you're still hard as nails, but you've kind of accepted Christ. And mentally, I'm guessing you're thinking, I've made a change. I don't want to get in more trouble. So you're trying to, trying to kind of walk the edge of like, hey, I don't want to get in another fight. I don't want to prove myself in here.
Facts. And I hadn't fully accepted Christ at that time. It was just, God was working on me.
The seed was there.
The seed was growing. And I get into this confrontation. So they would make me go to court. They would come and say, Heinisch, you're going to court. You got to wait in line, pull your pants down, squat and cough in front of someone, sit on this freaking little paddy wagon. They drive you there, sit in a holding cell. They feed you these nasty peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they'll be like, all right, we're going back. No lawyer, no judge, nothing. And they did this 4 days in a row. And finally I was like, dude, I'm not going. I was like, I'm not going to go. And they're like, dude, they'll come tase you. And so I come back. I went that fourth time, nothing again. They were playing games with me, bro. I came back and I was like so pissed off. And this dude's like, I'm using your phone. I said, nobody's using my phone today. And I went in my room because we trade for chips and stuff like that. And this dude's like, okay, meet me in the back. And this is like a big dude. And he was like, he seen me shadowboxing in my cell. He's like, you think you fight? We fight for real. And I was like, okay, bro. And so like,
that's what everybody who can't fight usually says.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. So he's like, let's go in the back. And so we go in the back. I think this dude wants to scrap. I'm like, all right, let's scrap, bro. I'm ready for this. Boom, pulls a nasty shank on me, bro. Like in my face. Like, and I'm just like, and like I learned a thing or two when I was locked up, and I was like, no, man, I don't want no problems, man. Boom! Right when he dropped his guard, slept him, fell on his face. His boys come running up, dude. And that's when I was like, I took my shirt off, I wrapped it around my hand because I was like, I got to grab knives, like the best I can, dude. I thought they were coming to get me. And these little Latino dudes coming there, and because I speak Spanish fluent, I was getting cool with them, thankfully, and they were like, yo, you mess with him, you mess with us. He got heart. He with us. And I was just cool, like, I was like, thank you, God. And then I got in the cell, and then they were like, yeah, man, you got a SOS on you, and you're not one of us, so we can't protect you anymore. Go to protect custody.
A stab on sight.
And I was like, okay. And I called the guard. I was like, guard, I got to get out of here. Please get me out of here. Like, these guys are going to kill me. Move me out now. And I'll never forget. He goes, you white boy, and slammed that door in my face, bro. Wow. And I was like, whew, dude, and that whole night, bro, I was up praying. I was making armor. I was like trying to like funnel them in like 300. Like I was just like, dude, I don't know. And I like was like stuffing all these like sheets in my clothes just so like knives wouldn't get through. I was getting ready. It was like 4 a.m. I was up all night doing Suboxone, just like ready for this, bro. And about 6 a.m., an hour before the doors open, two big football player guys come, and they're like, Heinisch. And I'm like, I'm all in there, and they open the door, and they're like, what's wrong?
What are you doing, crackhead?
They're like, you're coming with us. And I was like, who are you? And they're like, U.S. Marshal. You're being extradited to your warrants. And I was like, thank you, God. And I walked past all those dudes, man, and they're like,
and that's chills, just crazy timing, right? Like they had no idea you're about to get.
No idea, man. It was like, it was heaven sent, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. And then this was the worst part, bro. You want to talk about treated bad? I was shackled like this for 14 days as we drove to Pennsylvania, to Vermont, back to New York. 48 hours later, we're like this.
Like hands to ankles.
Like hands to ankles. Like, bro, I would have to eat like hunched over. They would only feed us fast food. and like they would only let us pee every 6 hours. So one time I had to pee so bad, and I like huddle up to the front, I'm like, dude, I gotta pee. And they're like, shut up, or we're not gonna feed you. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna piss my pants. They bounced a Gatorade bottle off my head, and they were like, deal with it. And so I like had to like hit my knees, and they're like, I pissed all over myself. Like I saw this old guy, bro, because the heater broke, and we're in the back of a van in freaking February in the East Coast. It is freezing.
Yeah.
And so at night, bro, we're shivering like this, and we're like, bro, we're cold. And they're like, shut up. And there was like a layer of ice on the top, and this old guy almost dying, bro. Like I saw him, he was just like,
jeez.
he was like going out, and I was like, bro, how can they do this? And they were required every 72 hours to let you in a jail, and you could only go to a jail. But every time I would get let out in jail, I would literally get to my bed, I would lay down and go to sleep. Heinisch, let's go. You're on the next bus. And so they were doing circles around the country. And so I didn't sleep.
Like just to mess with you?
No, every time
like-
they cross the border, they get paid more. Like, so they would pick someone up here, drop them off there, pick them up here.
It's like a mailing station.
Yeah.
You just get on the next one coming through, right? And like these make a circle.
So I wonder why dudes come out even more angry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it was crazy. This guy's like, I'm an escape artist. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, and he like slipped both of his cuffs. And I was just like, I was kind of nervous. I was like, I can't block right now. I was like, we're cool though. Yeah. And he's like, I was like, you really think you could escape? He's like, easy. And I was like, he's like, I'm not gonna, because I have a kid now. And I was like, then tell me the time you would escape. And he's just chilling in the back with his cuffs off. Like he just like slipped them easy. And then like there was one point where the door was open and the guard like went around the back and he's like, now. And I was like, wow. I was like, this dude's legit. Apparently they put him in the back of a cop car and he pushed, because you know the doors are locked.
Yeah.
He pushed so hard on the top of the roof, it made a small enough gap, and he slid through into the front seat and opened the door and escaped.
Wow.
So I met some wild
You
people.
guys should have a show.
So,
Right.
2014 Valentine's Day, I get to Jefferson County and I was released.
Which is like right behind our building here that we're at.
Yep, Jeffco, man. I was looking out. I was like, wow, I'm back after 5 years. And my mom came and posted bail, and they let me out. And that's when I found Chris. I just was like, I was like, what was that kid's name that brought me there? Matt Murphy.
Yeah, you came like a week after getting out, right?
Yeah, I came right after. So I came fresh.
It's a factory?
Dude, and I'll send you a picture. I have a picture of when I just got out. I look like so skinny, bro. I look so bad. And like maybe it was like a week or two after, this Matt Murphy guy, he started taking me to Factory X and we were training. And then like 2 months later, he quit. And that's when I got my license and the Mustang. And it was like perfect timing. So I didn't even miss a day of training. And I went 4-0 as an amateur. And then I went 8-0 as a professional, and I was just on a tear. And they were like, okay, Ian, you win this fight, you're in the UFC. You lose, you're in the back of the line. LFA title downtown at the First Bank Center. Well, a year before this, I tore my LCL a week before I was about to fight Lucas Hota in LFA. And I went to the doctor. They gave me 40 Percocets.
Oh, boy.
And I wasn't fully submitted to God yet. I wasn't fully like accepting Christ. And I took them, instantly hooked, bro. Next thing you know, I'm doing Oxy, I'm smoking it, I'm starting to take Adderall again. I'm showing up to sparring all like oxyed out and just taking 5 punches to give one hard one. Like not fighting smart, bro. Feeling no pain. And then, I mean, honestly, I think that's what made the concussions worse. And so I show up to this fight, this LFA fight. I go in there. My head is just not right, bro. I get an abscess to my tooth that week of. They give me another 40 Percocets. So I'm just like, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm taking this. It was a vicious cycle. I would quit 3 weeks before a fight. I would get deathly ill, like the flu, and then from the withdrawals, and then I would start to feel better, and I would go fight. And of course, to celebrate the fighting, the win, I would. Yeah. And then I was going to Mexico, buying it over the counter there, and so finally, I lost this fight, man, and I was devastated. You know, the first fight you lose is always the worst.
Yeah, it crumbles you. You think everything's over.
Everything's over, man. So I've been going to like Bible study with Nate Marker. I was going to Red Rocks Church, but I was doing drugs on the weekday. I was like living as a hypocrite, and I went on this camping trip, and we had this Bible study, and it was after, and I just wanted to hurt myself. I chopped wood till my hands bled. I took my buddy Nate Cups on this hike that almost killed us. We hit like 70-mile-an-hour winds on the peak, and I still hiked like another hour till I was like delirious. I got this like high, and he like collapsed because there was like a little mining like old school house there, and he collapsed in it, and I'm running around on this crazy high. And then we slept for like 48 hours, and then I just opened this Bible study, man, and it was just saying that like basically challenging my salvation. And I was like, I got offended at first, and then I was like, you know what, man? Like, I am living as a hypocrite. And I was like, finally, I was like, God, I want to kill myself. Like, I don't even want my life because I can't get off drugs. I can't freaking achieve anything. Like, I almost always get there and I don't achieve. And finally, I just fully surrendered, man. I went to church the next weekend. There was a baptism call. I walked into that water. It looked clear to me when I walked out. It looked black. And God was like, that's your addiction dead and your sin. And for a month after that, bro, my head was so foggy, like I had a concussion, and it wasn't a concussion. And I even told, and my coach is all pissed off at me because I'm like, dude, I'm not sparring, bro. My head is foggy. It doesn't feel good. And like a month of this, I'm praying to God. I'm like, God, I did what you wanted. What's going on? And it was like one of the times I heard God's voice audibly. It was like, this is the feeling you never want. And he lifted the fog. And like my head was like clear after that. And like, I mean, it was probably a little bit of like coming off the drugs and stuff, but like for a month, bro, like that's a long come down.
I mean, either way it worked.
Yeah. And since that time, bro, I knocked out a dude in LFA after that. Then I knocked out a guy for the LFA belt in Vail. Then I knocked, and then one more finish. Supposed to get a freaking UFC contract after winning the belt. I was 10-1. And
string it in front.
Yeah, they just string one more finish, bro. So I go on Contender Series. I knock the dude out, and I get a UFC contract. I take a short notice fight because nobody would fight me in Colorado because of the altitude. And I found out about the fight on Thursday. I left on Sunday. I went to Argentina on Monday and fought Cesar Ferreira. I beat him in a war.
That was with the UFC. So the UFC signed him like to a short notice.
Yeah, and then go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say Cesar is the one I fought in PFL too. So we share at least one opponent. I don't know, maybe a couple.
Yeah, I think maybe more than one. And then I beat Antonio Carlos Jr. a couple months later, and took him on short notice on 3 weeks. And then I was ranked number 9 in the world. Then I fought Derek Brunson, and it wasn't the best camp to say the least.
Yeah.
Didn't get the training I felt like I needed. And I went out there, and honestly, it's no excuse, man. My health started deteriorating. I started putting on weight. I had this thyroid thing apparently. And I started getting these skin infections on me. And I don't know if it was from prison because that's when it started, bro. Like, ask Chris, I would break out so bad.
That was bad.
And it wasn't like I gave people it. And I'll go to the doctor, antibiotics.
It's always a pill.
After 20 cycles of antibiotics, bro, I had blood in my stool for a year. I lost to Omari Akhmedov, and that's when I met my wife. And she's like, and I was like, it was like a month after I met her. I'm like, you're a nurse and all. I'm like, this is kind of embarrassing, but like, I have like blood in my stool because I went and got a colonoscopy, and I woke up. The doctor said, "Oh, it's from stress." And I was like, "Okay, what do I do?" He's like, "Do suppositories," and I'm like, "No, bro." And
you do suppositories.
Yeah, seriously. And I met my wife, thank God, and she's like, "Come to my clinic." And she took my blood work. She's like, "You're anemic in iron because you're losing so much blood." She's like, "You have ulcerated colitis," which is
like Crohn's-esque.
Almost, I think so.
It's like your colon's like has ulcers in it, so that's why I was bleeding. And I had a thyroid, like my thyroid was hypo, and so I put my ulcerated colitis in remission after months of diet switch and supplements and probiotics, and healed my gut for the most part. And then my thyroid was all messed up, and it put on like 10 pounds. So weight cuts were harder. I felt fatigued all the time. I felt like I could literally pull over and like sleep. Like I would get so tired. Like
this kind of goes, it goes to like the medical system we have. It's like a Band-Aid on everything. Here, take these pills. Take these pills.
Yeah.
Nobody ever like looks into the deeper issue and like, how do we correct this?
I was given antibiotics for a year before they diagnosed me.
Yeah, and that'll fuck
With the
you up.
bitis?
With the bitis, yeah.
Yeah, no, we're all too busy. We're all too worried about, making money and doing our own thing. And we're too distracted with, TV and our phones to worry about prisoners or rehabilitation or the fact that they're giving us too many drugs or that the food pyramid was invented by people who run
corporations who sell us food.
Right. Who are connected to the same pharma guys who like nobody in life really wants to deal with anything like you know what I mean? So nobody really wants to deal with anything serious because it would require you to make a change or acknowledge the fact
We want the quick fix. But
I have too much shit to do.
Healing your gut and stomach or other things,
it takes
those
a while.
take time.
Yeah.
We want the give me the Vicodin, Percocet, take the pain away. Yeah. Instead of take away the inflammation and do this and do that. It's going to take weeks, but if you do it, you'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, people want to treat the symptoms instead of get to the root cause.
Yeah.
And when you treat symptoms, you're going to open up other things. And so I basically, I went in there, I lost to Omari Akhmedov. So I lost 2 in a row. I switched camps. I went to Thailand. COVID came. Everything shut down. Donald Trump was like, you got 72 hours to come back to America. And I was like, bro, I don't want to get left out here. My wife was over here, hopped on a plane, found coaches, found Coach Jake. Peter Straub opened his gym. No one else would open their gym. So we trained.
Are you
with
at Genesis
them.
now?
Yeah.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
He's the one that got me to go to Genesis.
Oh, dope.
And Nate Marquardt brought me.
Dude, I love Genesis. By the way, like,
Yeah.
because I've trained at other places, I like that the vibe at Genesis, and I just think Jake himself.
Yes.
I think the vibe there as a team is better. I think
Yeah.
the vibe overall is better. I think it's one of the best moves you've made.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love
Bro,
Genesis.
you got that knockout
I've
power
been
now.
dropping and knocking everybody out
Yeah,
now.
bro. I
yeah,
love
his
to
last
see
3
that,
fights, his
bro.
hands look so crispy. I love that place.
No, I definitely do. Jake's the man. Genesis is a cool atmosphere.
Yes.
I got to get running.
Yes.
That's a good place to end. We can
Yeah,
end here.
but I want to give you a chance still, just like you were telling us your story in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I know we talked about all the bad. So, like,
Yeah.
take a chance or take a minute and share, like, how your life has changed if you want.
Yeah. Just, I mean, I know we should have talked about time because there's so much more from.
Why don't we do a part 2?
Yeah, we could do a part 2. I mean, I just want to say, like, man, I just feel like a lot of people think they're too old, too young, too far gone, too many drugs, too many this. And I just feel like, I think if God's with you and you're seeking him and you're on the path that he wants, which can create miracles, you put your head down and you're working, I think you can achieve anything, man, because I was rock bottom in a foreign prison cell at age 27. So, or getting out at age 26 to get in the UFC at age 29. So everyone said I was too old and I didn't listen to other people. I listened to what I felt God had put on my heart. I followed that and I put the work in. And I just want people to know, like, man, you can really do like anything if you feel a calling towards that from above and you silence the haters, because everyone, if you go outside the status quo, if you go outside of, the norm and you threaten people that, oh, well, you make me look lazy or you make me look unaccomplished, you got to shut those voices up because there's always going to be haters. And, I just feel like God has a big plan for everyone's life. Find what that is and seek that. And, I've done drugs to the point of like Steve-O status and to be competing at the top. And like I said, man, I've overcome addiction, I've overcome prison, and I'm going to overcome these injuries. And we'll talk about that more with stem cells, cryptocurrency supporting my life, paying for my stem cells, which has been amazing. These crypto projects that have been helping fighters, and that'll be part 2. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys on part 2. And thank you guys for having me on, Chris. Always,
yeah,
Yeah, bro, this was dope.
Both you guys,
This was dope.
I feel like we definitely got to do part 2.
We
get
do.
into all the good, because like you've turned your life a crazy amount around, and like the success you're finding. So yeah, we would love to have you back. I know you're going to be here a bit.
It'd be amazing. I'd love to hear more too, how you feel about pharma companies, prison reform.
Yeah.
More about crypto.
Yeah, let's talk about, because it's a huge part, man, because I've been off for like a year and a half, and I've done stem cells twice in my brainstem. And I've healed my thyroid through stem cells. And I went down to Mexico, and it was pretty scary, but it all worked out. And a cryptocurrency called Marshallino paid for that. And I have a YouTube channel. I have a crypto show. It's like Shark Tank, except it's called Shill Tank. People bring us their crypto projects. We roast them or we invest in them.
Shill Tank?
I want to know how you feel about this Logan Paul crypto.
Oh, yeah.
On part 2.
Yeah.
Matt, can we get the links to put in the show title for his crypto project and his YouTube channel?
Of course. Yeah, I'll link them all.
Awesome, man.
All right, man. Hey, thank you everybody for joining. Leave some comments for Ian.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. If you leave some comments, we'll make sure we share them for the next one. We'll get them to answer them. So
Yeah.
There we
Smash
go.
that like button.
Big time, number 9. Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine.